All right, well, let's jump into some segments. So, remember Mar-a-Lago face? We talked about that. Didn't we talk about Mar-a-Lago face, or did I just see it in the news? Mar-a-Lago face. All right, well.
I don't remember that. Do you remember?
So. We didn't? I can't believe we didn't do a segment on it. So Mar-a-Lago face was basically this perception of the political people that were coming through Mar-a-Lago, the people that were close to Trump. And they had the look of like puffy cheeks and big lips, and they were all had all this work done. So I found it interesting that like now the political spectrum is basically getting these plastic surgery, stereotypes. And there's a new one out now. And this is about jaw surgery surging in Washington men. And, I've seen a couple articles about certain political figures, getting work done, and specifically like jaw work. They were pretty small, like it wasn't like a big thing. It's like, I probably won't do a segment on it. But there was some about like Trump's sons, like Eric, and what's the other one, Don Jr., and then also Elon Musk, that he had work done to his jaw. Did you see any of those?
No.
They were pretty.
The only politician I remember that like had some kind of work was that guy that was
Matt
just like
Gaetz. Yeah, Matt
like
Gaetz.
all of a sudden it was like, where are your eyes? Like he just like looked
he
like
did look, well, he had like
he got punched in the face.
Yeah, he had like a very aggressive Botox session, I think. 'Cause remember, he had those like arched eyebrows, kind of like the Joker. Yeah. Well, anyway, now there's actually articles coming out about this surge in men in Washington, D.C. Trey, I think I put the article up there, didn't I? If anybody wants to look at it, it should be the next slide. Trey? Oh, there he is. Hey, there we go. So this was out of Politico magazine, plastic surgery procedure booming among Washington men. And so I kind of dug into this article and then did some of my own research. And, there was this aesthetic surgeon in Washington, D.C. saying that in the past year, their male clients who came in asking for jaw surgery surged from 20% to 50%, meaning, a year ago, 1 in 5 men who came into practice was looking for jaw work, and now it's half, which that's pretty big.
I could see why. Like a strong jawline.
Totally.
It's like assertive, you think.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Like
and even in politics, it's been discussed. I remember back in 2012, remember Rick Perry, the Texas governor, was running or trying to get the presidential nomination. I remember that someone mentioned, oh, he's got that great, square jaw, and people were talking about that. And what you said is totally true, about giving that air of confidence. Strong chin and jaw is associated with authority, trustworthiness, leadership, and honesty. And someone actually did a study looking at the male CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. And of the male CEO of Fortune 500 companies, 90% had strong jawlines and chins, versus the general public, it's only like 40%. So it's kind of interesting that these people that are considered high power tend to have that. So I definitely think that there's some truth about it. And jaw work is not really that popular comparatively to other plastic surgeries. It makes up about a little less than 1%. Obviously females dominate plastic surgery. It's like 90%, 10%. And so, every year the percentage of males getting plastic surgery or procedures goes up a little bit, but it's still like 9 to 1, female. But yeah, chin implants or jaw implants make up a little bit less than 1%. But interestingly, from 2022 to 2023, which is kind of the last we have like a good data set on this, the number of chin implants in men went up by 26%. So it is kind of a surging thing. And outside of the look of it, the other thing about having a nice chin and jaw is it also affects your neck. We have people that come in from time to time that have complaints about their neck, and the real issue, or one of the major issues, is that if the jaw is recessed, and I have this a little bit. This is the one. If I was ever going to think about getting plastic surgery, I'm probably not going to do it because I'm just don't care that much. But like this would be the one thing I might consider. Because it affects my neck too. Like if I gain any weight, my neck looks like fat, and it's because like my jaw doesn't stick out quite far enough, and so I don't get that really nice, clean neckline angle. And so there's that other aspect of it that it also not only just the look of the jaw being pleasing, but also how it affects your neckline. And so, I mean, I can, again, totally see how people might consider going about changing it, and especially in Washington, D.C., right, where everybody wants to have that look of authority.
Yeah.
And even Trump talks about, oh, so-and-so's got, such like a, nice, clean, strong, face. He says,
He says weird stuff like that.
I mean, he says weird stuff all the time, granted, but he has mentioned that a couple times about how someone's appearance. He's like, oh, I like, the way they look.
They've got good hair. We trust them.
Yeah, right.
Like weird
best
stuff.
hair. Ask anyone.
Yeah.
It's the best. Which is kind of funny because Trump himself, I wouldn't necessarily say that he currently or ever, maybe when he was
like
really
super attractive.
Yeah, right. I mean, not that he's like a bad-looking dude at all,
No.
but I wouldn't say he has like a super strong.
Maybe back in the day he was like a handsome fella.
Yeah, back in the day, but yeah. Anyway, so it's just kind of funny how people are. It's almost as if Washington D.C. At least some people are like, oh, I want to have this good appearance for Trump or whatever, but then Trump himself is.
Well, Melania's pretty enough for both of them.
That's right, Melania. All right, so what can be done, right? So say you're like me, and I'm like, okay, I want to go out and get some. I want to make my jaw look better, get that really nice movie star jaw. So there's basically 3 things out there that people are doing. The first one is fillers.
Yeah.
So you can just take like the normal fillers and put it along the jawline to give a little bit of an accent. Mm-hmm. I personally wouldn't go that route. Of course, fillers are temporary, so if you like it, you're having to redo it like every year and a half or whatever. But the problem mostly is that in order to make a notable difference, you'd have to use a lot of filler.
Right.
I mean, I was looking up some web pages of people that offered filler for jawlines, and they were saying, yeah, it's usually 3 or 4 syringes. Okay, well, each syringe is around $600. So,
Dang.
you're talking like fillers are expensive. Like they're not cheap.
How much is it? So like, if they're doing like 3 syringes, you said, or 4,
Mm-hmm.
then how much is it more to do a surgery?
Right, great point. So you're spending like $1,800 to $2,400 for a round of fillers, and the surgeries for to do like a permanent implant's like 4 to 8.
Okay.
So if you like the fillers, within about 2 to max 3 years, you've already spent as much as you would spend for, a surgery.
Yeah.
So I personally wouldn't go the filler route. I mean, I guess if somebody was really against surgery and they want to try it, it's not, dangerous or anything. The other 2 options are surgery. The first one was kind of the one that's been around forever, which is called a sliding genioplasty. So basically, they actually cut the bone of the chin and slide it forward, and then they
put implants there.
Well, they put little I'm blanking, like a plate to hold it. They're basically cutting the chin bone and moving it forward, and then actually using a plate to hold it. I wouldn't do that. That's like a very morbid surgery. I mean, you're talking about cutting your mandible. Like there's risk of nerve injuries and the healing of the bone and all that. I'd be out on that. But
it sounds pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty big surgery. I did some for reconstruction when I was doing like craniofacial reconstruction and training. They're pretty morbid, not something that I would do for aesthetics. But the one that actually I think is a reasonable option is the silicone jaw implants. Mm-hmm. And hey, Trey, you got that picture of the implants on there? It's like looks like 4 little silicone things. Yeah, there you go. So that's an example of what they look like.
It looks like a little retainer.
Kind of, yeah. So they're solid silicone. It basically goes right on the edge of the mandible or the jawbone, and it just basically simulates like you have extra bone there.
How does it attach?
Great question. So the way these surgeries are done is they either do an incision inside the bottom of the mouth, which is the way I would do these if I was going to do one, which I don't do these. I kind of got away from doing the more, unusual type craniofacial stuff. I still do the bread and butter stuff. I quit doing stuff like this. But basically, the way I would do is make a little incision on the inside of the mouth, and you clear off the tissue over the bone. You slide that thing into place, and you put like 1 or 2 screws to hold it so it doesn't slide, and then close it up. I mean, it's in theory a very simple.
Can you get like can you get them to make implants like right here?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's so those you'd have to do like back in the jaw, like in the
because that's the
like the square anvil jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was gonna do it, I just would probably add just like a little bit of length because I mean, I don't feel my jawline's terrible, but like it's not like great either.
Yeah.
So if I was gonna do one, I would just probably do the front. I don't feel like I need to have that anvil jaw. That's just not kind of me, you know.
Yeah. You wouldn't look like you anymore.
Right,
much.
it would change. Yeah, it would change the way you looked. But yeah, the surgeries are fairly simple. You know, not super invasive. Most of the incisions could be done inside the mouth, so you're not. You know, sometimes people will do them underneath the chin, which is fine because if you do an incision under the chin, it's usually pretty well hidden. They're outpatient surgeries, pretty easy recovery. As we said, the cost is like $4,000 to $8,000. Risk of these surgeries pretty small. I mean, there's always a risk of an implant getting infected, but it's no different than like a breast implant, which we do literally all the time.
Seems way more simple than a breast implant.
Yeah, it is. It's less invasive for sure. I mean, there is risk of them shifting, which is why if I was going to do one, I would put a screw in it. I think not everybody puts a screw in it, but if I was going to do one, I'd put a screw in it. And then there's always a risk of some numbness because you're making cuts in there around the jaw.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get some pictures. I personally don't have any pictures of this because I don't do this, but there is a surgeon here in Dallas, John Burns. I don't know if I've met him. I've heard his name before, but his webpage advertised this, so we'll give John Burns some free advertising here. He's a pretty well-respected plastic surgeon, so I would go see him if I was going to do something, and this guy's pretty legit. So throw this up, Trey. So yeah, you can see it's, I wouldn't say it completely changes how they look. They still look like the same person, but they just have that little bit better jawline. And I think the one on the left is really nice. I mean, to me, the bottom looks, very, very normal, very strong. The right one, I think, was just like a more advanced case of like retrognathia, meaning that the mandible is really recessed. And so probably even using a big implant, it didn't like make it perfect, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah, because his ones was like going like.
Yeah, that's like really, really recessed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I can totally see why people do this. I mean, especially in a world of like Washington, D.C., where, looks really do. I mean, I guess it's kind of like Hollywood, right? Where your looks make it different of
You're
how.
in the public eye a lot.
Yeah, I mean, how people perceive you. So, I mean, yeah, I think if people want to do this, yeah, go for it. Am I going to do it? Probably not. I've just got too much crap going on to worry about going to get surgery.
Yeah.
So, but if I was going to do a surgery, that'd probably be the one that I would do personally. So, all right, let's recap this one, Trey. You ready? So today we were talking about the surge in Washington, D.C. men in getting jaw surgery or jaw implants. And one surgeon there in the D.C. area said that of their male patients in 1 year, the percentage asking for jaw surgery or jaw remodeling went from 20% to 50%, which is a big jump. Also, the data on how many of these procedures being done does correlate with that. There has been a notable jump in people seeking things like jaw implants. Well, why is that? Well, it's well known that a strong chin and a strong jawline are seen by other people as signs of being strong leaders, trustworthy, loyal. And so in the world of Washington, D.C., which could be also similar to Hollywood, where looks are important, you're seeing more men go after that look that gives that air of strength. So how can you change the jawline? Well, one way is to do fillers. I personally wouldn't do this. It takes a lot of filler to change the jawline. It's only temporary, and the cost would start to be quite expensive after a few years. There are surgeries where they actually remodel the entire bone by cutting it and shifting forward. It's called a shifting genioplasty. I probably wouldn't go that route. That's a very, very morbid surgery that I wouldn't personally do for aesthetics. But these silicone jaw implants are a very reasonable way to get that strong chin and strong jawline. If you wanted to do that, it's done by making little incisions inside the mouth. Outpatient surgery, pretty easy recovery, cost you about $4,000 to $8,000. So yeah, and I've even said in the past, if I was ever to get plastic surgery, that might be something I would consider. But am I going to do it? Probably not. But yeah, if you want to see the full segment, look it up. Cool.
Yeah, chins.
Yeah, strong chin.